Thanks, Deputy Speaker, and I rise to contribute to the Building and Plumbing Administration and Enforcement Bill 2026. And of course, it's a very important bill and important not only for Victoria, but particularly important for an electorate like mine in Melton. And it's one of the fastest growing areas in the state, if not the country. Within the next 20 years, we'll double our population to 450,000 in Melton, and between Melton and Wyndham by 2046, there'll be 1 million people living in that corridor, which will be 1/10 of the Victorian population. So you can see why housing and my electorate in the western suburbs is so important. Of course, people in Melton don't just talk about housing, they're building. And they're coming out to Melton because it's still affordable, and they're buying their first home. They're sometimes stretching every dollar that they've got to get into the market, and of course they're starting their families. It's a very young population and demographics in Melton, and as I say, they're buying their first homes because they think it's an affordable area. It's only 31 kilometres from the centre of the Melbourne Business District, and it's a great place for people to move into. It's quite a diverse community that we've got out there now, and many of those members of that diverse community are coming out where friends and relatives are living. It's something that we see in my electorate office very often, and that's where people come in and raise concerns about, housing and issues of builders and things like that, and obviously where things have broken down in regard to the building of their homes and the defects and things like that, and having them try to get them rectified. And of course, it's quite heartbreaking for people when they have to go through those battles to get some of the building defects and construction issues sorted out, and that's what this bill is all about. And it's so heartbreaking for hard-working people, families who have done everything right, scraping together their deposits for a home, signing contracts in good faith, trusting that the system will deliver what they've paid for and a good standard of build for what they've paid for, but only to be let down by a dodgy operator who's more focused on profits than people. And we see that too often with some of these dodgy builders. And of course, that's what this bill will address. This is about restoring confidence within our communities, and it's about making sure that when people, such as in my electorate of Melton or across Victoria, build or buy a home, they are not left on their own if something goes wrong, that they'll be supported by a well-structured system. Of course, it's outlined in this bill summary that this legislation establishes a new Principal Act and strengthens enforcement across the building system. Including formally establishing the Building and Plumbing Commission as a stronger, integrated regulator. The system has long been fragmented, it's been confusing and often too weak when it comes to dealing with those who deliberately do the wrong thing, and I've seen that firsthand with some of the people that have come into my electorate office, but hopefully this bill will change all of that. It also introduces for the first time a clear building system objective, putting consumers at the centre and making it explicit that health and safety must come first, which is great to see. It's not just symbolic, that it's a fundamental shift in how decisions are made and how regulation is applied and how accountability is enforced, and it strengthens enforcement powers. It gives the regulator real teeth. It provides for stronger investigation powers, it gives them the ability to intervene earlier and the capacity to impose meaningful consequences if serious breaches occur, and obviously too many of these dodgy operators have not been held to account. But it's quite clear that most builders and tradies, I'm pleased to say, do the right thing. There's only a few that don't, and most builders and tradies are proud of their work, and it's great to see that, and they want to show off their good outcomes and their good product, and that's great to see, especially when they hand over the keys to a house that's been finished. They really want to show it off, which is terrific, because it's a good selling point. It's a good promotion for them to build more and more houses and to show the good quality that they do. And unfortunately, the minority at times of dodgy builders make it very difficult for the genuine good builders and tradies. Yeah, and it only takes a small number of those bad ones to make it really difficult. So that's why a stronger enforcement matters. This is why civil penalties matter. And that's to make sure that these dodgy ones don't get away with it. And it's about holding company directors to account. And this is why, cracking down on phoenixing, the practice of shutting down one company and then reopening under another name to avoid consequences is so important. And we've seen that quite a bit where that's happened in the past, where a dodgy builder has, shut down their company and they've wandered off, and then next thing you know, they're practicing under another name and then continuing to build dodgy builds. Cutting corners and ripping people off is not the way to go, of course, and just masking yourself and hiding yourself under a different name of a build is terrible. And I've first-hand knowledge of a particular area. It actually happened in Bacchus Marsh to a young woman in Bacchus Marsh, where there were some issues about the building of her house, and she's just come up against roadblocks all the time to try and get it rectified. And in particular, at times has been intimidated and harassed by the builders of her particular house. And this is a young woman on her own that came out of a domestic violence situation, and it's been very difficult for her to deal with the issues. Of course, this bill is not just about protecting home buyers, it's also about protecting subcontractors and small businesses, the people who are out there every day working their guts out to build something for themselves and their families. And of course, in Melton, we have seen strong growth, not just in housing, but in small businesses. And I note recently that in the Melton LGA, there are 18,793 small businesses and achieved a growth rate of 9.8%, which is the highest in Victoria of growth of small businesses. And it's pleasing to see that people are starting up their businesses in Melton. And again, as I come back to the diversity of our community and the diversity of businesses now that are in Melton, and it's great to see. Of course, a lot of these people who have come through our strong TAFE system, and they've learnt their skills through TAFE, and they've honed their craft through TAFE. And of course, now they're contributing strongly to our economy and our community out there in the West. And of course, our Victoria's TAFE system has delivered generations of skilled tradespeople and people who take pride in what they do, and people who want to help build quality homes using the quality skills that they've learnt through the TAFE system. And of course, that pipeline of skilled workers will only become more important as our community continues to grow. And of course, I've got to give a shout out. We'll start building the new Kangan TAFE out at Melton later this year to be completed by 2028. And primarily the courses that they'll be teaching at Kangan TAFE in Melton will be construction courses and construction training, and that will go a long way to assist us with the massive growth of housing in Melton. Over the next 20 years, there's 109,000 houses to be built in Melton. Currently, there's only 89,000 houses in Melton, and so there's going to be, another 109,000. So you can see the pressures on in that western corridor, and I'm sure it's very similar to what's happening in Wyndham, and that's why I say about, in the next 20 years we'll see 1 million people in that corridor, and that's why housing is so important out there. That Kangan TAFE facility will be training up 600 apprentices every year to deliver, their trades, their construction trades, and to assist us in building those houses, which is, terrific to see. And as I say, this bill is very important in regard to securing the process and the system here in Victoria. I don't support the reason amendments put up by the opposition. I think it's really just a way of opposing reform and delaying and watering down this particular bill. And it's standing in the way of stronger protections, and I don't support the reason amendment. And I don't think it's a way of standing up for the consumers and for home builders and for tradies in delaying that through the reasoned amendment. This is a really important bill, and I commend this bill to the House.